Na 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 diva is a female version of a hustler, of a hustler, of a hustler. Na 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 diva is a female version of a hustler, of a hustler.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Have and the Have-Nots review, episode 11. I have no more fingers. What am I gonna do? Okay. This episode, it went from quick, last episode, a lot of excitement, and then this episode, it just went down. But I noticed that in some of my favorite shows that happens, I don't remember it really happening with Scandal because there's so much going on with Scandal simultaneously. But one of my favorite shows is True Blood. And that happens. It's quick. And then in an episode where you think shit is really going to hit the fan, it's almost like an interlude to shit hitting the fan. So I don't think that that's problematic. I think that that's a part probably of the drama and the writing style of whatever writer or writing team that you have. But this episode for me was a little slow. First scene, Hannah and Katherine. Katherine's in the hospital. She's sick. It's like a 10-minute long scene. After all the shit that happened last episode, we're going to have a 10-minute scene of them just talking about what? The will? Okay. Alrighty. Katherine has the bright idea to videotape her last will and testament. She doesn't trust the lawyers where her will is because Jim has been to bed with them and their wives. Going to bed with someone business-wise, meaning you have some dealings with them, going to bed with their wives is a whole nother issue. So Katherine does not trust that the lawyers will have her best interests at heart. She doesn't want Jim to get anything, nothing, nada, zilch. Survey says, I'm not sure yet. But this was one of the hot lines of the night that came from this scene. I think the scene with Candace and Wyatt. I think some lines from that scene may have beat her out, but this was definitely an honorable mention. Hannah tells Katherine, don't live a miserable life. Leave him. Divorce him. Katherine's like, and let another woman wear the crown that I put the jewels in? Oh, that's hot. I like that. So we find out that Katherine and Jim had a shotgun wedding. So she obviously was pregnant with Wyatt when they got married. And we also found out that Jim is not so much a smarty pants. And Amanda may have gotten her law school transcript genes from her daddy. Because according to Katherine, her daddy not only paid for Jim's education, but paid for him to make it through, including the bar exam. I knew I was forgetting something. Hold on. Okay. So Katherine wants to know why Hannah does not talk about her daughter. She called Candace a hellhound. I don't think I ever heard that before in my life. A hellhound. All right. The scene with Wyatt and Jeffrey. That scene had me hollering. So Wyatt is on the computer looking at escort sites again, but this time not for his own pleasure and entertainment, but to see if Amanda is up there because he's afraid, since Amanda has been a follower, that she's going to follow in Candace's footsteps. So he wants to go see Amanda, but it's not, a off-site type of day. So Jeff is like, no. Wyatt's like, can't you bend the rules? Now, in my mind, he was not saying, can't you bend the rules? In my mind, he was saying, can't you bend that ass? I'm just saying. So he's like, please. And Jeff caves in. So Wyatt takes off his shirt and goes and gets in the shower. Wyatt knows what he's doing. You cannot tell me otherwise. He's giving Jeff just a little bit, just enough to keep him on a string and to do as he needs him to do. So then Wyatt goes and get in the shower. Jeff goes to the door and listens. Now, we all know when we've been smitten with someone, that person can just make you so giddy and giggly and just so, no matter how old you are, just so puppy love childlike. And so he grabs the shirt and he holds it to him. And he was like, he said, please. Oh my God. I fell out dead to the bed. That was the funniest scene ever. And it was cute, but hysterical. Now the scene with David and Jim. So they're talking in Jim's office, or was it David's office? I don't remember. But Veronica comes in, and Veronica looks really good. She's in regular professional clothes, not in the Diane Carroll. Ooh, I had a brain fart. She's not in the Diane Carroll dynasty attire. She's in regular, sophisticated clothing. And it really becomes her, not only her personal beauty, but her character. All that extra stuff is not needed if they're not at the Kentucky Derby. Just keep it like that, tone it down. So she breaks to Jim and David that she's going to be representing Benny. Jim and David are a little bit nervous. So we find out that, of course, we knew before that Veronica had a drug problem, but that problem came out of a back injury. And I guess her job as a lawyer helped to exacerbate it and keep her under pressure and keep the habit going. So David's using that as an excuse why she should not take the case. But we know different. He don't want her to find out because obviously she is a hound dog in the courtroom, and she's going to find out, like I said last week, that her husband is involved. So in this scene, Candace is packing Amanda's bag in her bedroom. And there's a knock at the door. She goes to the door, and it's Jeffrey and Wyatt. So Wyatt's calling her all types of prostitutes. And of course, Candace is not going to lay down taking that BS. So Candace goes back at Wyatt, and Jeffrey defends Wyatt. And Candace says, oh, protective, isn't she? Candace is a fool. Candace is a fool. So Candace breaks it down. And she tells Wyatt, look, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. Wyatt comes back at her. So you put something else in it? Mental picture. Why, Wyatt? So Candace comes back and says, well, I'm damn good at it. You had everything. And you blew it. Obviously, so did you. Beep, beep, beep. Line of the night. Is it just me? Or did I see a twinge of sexual attraction between Candace and Wyatt? What the fuck is that? So essentially, from this scene, Wyatt and Jeffrey burst in. Well, actually, really, Wyatt burst in, fights Candace just a little bit, and runs in Amanda's room, and Jeffrey runs behind him, and they see that Amanda's room is in a shambles. Unless you see blood and vomit and Why would you think anything's wrong? A messy room is not indicative of something. I mean, she took pills. It's not like her and Candace had a fight, or her and someone else had a fight, and I don't think that was set up well. Maybe I missed it, because there are things that I miss sometimes because I have ADD like a mofo. So let me know if I missed something that would have really make a person say, "What the hell did you do?" You know, I just didn't feel it. So after prodding by Wyatt and Jeffrey, Candace admits that Amanda tried to commit suicide and she's in the hospital. So Wyatt calls Daddy and tells him she tried it again. So obviously Amanda has had a history with suicide attempts. So Jim asks, where is he? At Candace and Amanda's apartment. Candace and Amanda's what? Oh, they still haven't told Mommy and Daddy that they live together. Most disturbing convo of the night is when David asked Jim if he was still having sex with Katherine. Nasty. So Veronica interviews Hannah before she sees Benny in the jail to help build her case. And Hannah and Veronica gets into it. Veronica put it to her. Veronica put it on her. To the point Hannah couldn't say nothing but, "I don't need your sarcasm." So the cost of the trial is going to be expensive, and Hannah is more than likely going to put her house up for collateral. Something's going to put Benny in a position where he's going to have to run, and she's going to lose her house or be in danger of losing her house. And or the whole Jim David thing. The whole Jim David thing is going to maybe come up with a ploy to kidnap him or something to that effect, where it's going to appear like he ran. And, that puts Hannah in more of a predicament. So Benny comes in the interview room with the black eye. I guess somebody tried to get at that ass, and he was like, "I ain't Jeff and Wyatt." Boop. But Hannah's, of course, worried, and we see that, that's going to be motivation for her to even go harder for her son. Wyatt is like, "Have her arrested, Dad. She's no good. She's a prostitute." Well, excuse me, but didn't you find Candace on a prostitute site because you was looking for a prostitute? So how does that make you any better? And you were looking at this site while you were in rehab for heroin. Who are you to say that somebody's no good and is a bad influence on your sister? And Jim, weren't you using that prostitute for her services? So how dare you even look at her sideways or question her in front of your son when you already know the deal? So Wyatt basically accuses her of having Amanda into prostitution. So Jim's upset about that. And Jeffrey intercedes as the logical one and said, "Listen, Mr. Cryer, we have no evidence that is the truth. We really do not know that." So then he goes off on Candace, start asking Candace questions. Candace is looking at him like, "I dare you to say something I don't like." Because there was just so much hypocrisy going on. I felt it too, girl. Now, I'm wondering, I can't remember the name of the hospital that Katherine's in, but is Katherine and Amanda in the same hospital? If not, that would be dope. Next scene, David and Veronica. Veronica reveals that she thinks Benny is telling the truth, number one. Number two, the arresting detective is probably not on board. He's not straight. He hasn't even called her back yet. So David admits that he knows him and that he would have him give her a call. So now, little by little, she's inching towards the truth. And this is going to be a really interesting part of the storyline. Now, last week we learned about Wyatt's possible molestation by the priest while they're at summer camp. Now, this week we find out via Wyatt that Amanda has been implicated in said sexual activities with the priest, and that is one of the reasons why she hasn't been happy and she has been suicidal. So, now this intimate conversation between Wyatt and Jeffrey is interrupted by a blonde-haired girl who just embraces Wyatt, and Wyatt embraces her, and they're so happy to see each other even though it's a sad occasion. Child, how you doing? Is so jealous. Oh my goodness. Jeff keeps saying, Wyatt, we gotta go. Wyatt, time to go. Wyatt, get away from her. Hey, let's go. And they're like, I love you too, I miss you, come and see me. You can't have visitors. I can the last 2 weeks. I only got a month left. So this is going to be funny. Now, at the end of the show, Jim ends up asking for Candace's address and shows up. Reaches through that damn door and gets that home girl. Child, next week. So next week, who has a relapse? I have relapse in my notes, but I don't remember who had a relapse. Because the previews for the next week go by so quickly, it's hard to get everything in and write in longhand. Sorry. I see Jim and Amanda talk, so Amanda does come too, and she's talking with her dad. We find out that Amanda has a trust, so there's going to be something to do with her storyline and her money. Veronica pressures Benny for his sister's name. He's not giving up the goods, at least not in that scene. Oh, they sleeping in the same room. And Jeff inches closer to his bed, so... And I heard Veronica say something about a girl, and Jeff is like going off saying, Mom, I have a problem. And so it seems as though a lot more stuff is going to unfold next week, so we shall see. Yeah. See you guys next week. Bye.
Thank you. Far too kind. Yeah.